Joining us on our Book Talk segment, great pleasure really to welcome our guest today. He is a very talented man. He's a very interesting man as well. He's a physicist, engineer, inventor, entrepreneur, and now author. And he talks about his work in Silicon Valley. He is one of the inventors, or maybe the only inventor, we'll find out about it, of the microprocessor, which we all use every day, whether we're using our phone or computers or whatever. The name of the book is called Silicon, From the Invention of the Microprocessor to the New Science of Consciousness. We're joined today by Federico Faggin. He's based out in the Silicon Valley, and he joined us for a few minutes to talk not only about his career, but about the book he wrote. And Federico, real pleasure to talk to you. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, I had a chance to read through the book, and I was fascinated by it because, we've all been using computers now, I guess, at least, the types we use today for about, 15, 20 years now. And the microprocessor, obviously part of that, and the cell phones and all that. But I guess very few people understand how it was built, and you were one of the people at the beginning of it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, well, it was invented 50 years ago, so
right.
You can guess that I'm not young anymore. And the key to the microprocessor was a technology called MOS silicon gate technology that invented a Fairchild semiconductor, a company that is the mother of the integrated circuit, also in Silicon Valley. And then the microprocessor was developed at Intel in 1970. So the silicon gate technology was developed in 68. And that's the technology that made possible the microprocessor. The microprocessor is simply a computer on a single piece of silicon. So it can be very small, very fast, very cheap, and it can be embedded everywhere. It can be put into a toothbrush, where a computer that was large like a bookcase in those days certainly could not fit into a book into a toothbrush, right? So anyway, so a tremendous number of applications were made possible by this little thing that now transformed a computer made with metal and electronics and power supplies and all that stuff into a tiny little piece of silicon. So that was the invention. I was the creator of the technology together with another person, Tom Klein, and the designer of the first microprocessor together with two other people. But I was the head of the design and also the one that figured out how to do it because the technology was new and nobody knew how to do it yet.
It's amazing when you think of it. When I went to college, you had to take some computer classes, and it wasn't that long ago. It was the early '80s. But the computer classes, you had to use this big mainframe, and there was a few terminals to it. And even then, I know the microprocessor may have been invented then, but it wasn't perfected as far as what we used it for. Now it's so miniaturized, all the computers. It's amazing the technology and how you put it all in that one chip. I know you go through it in the book, and we'll let the people, hopefully get the book and read about it. But it's amazing you can fit all that information on one little chip like that.
Yeah, it is, and perhaps even more amazing that we could make with the same technology was essential for that to make that the flash memories, the little keys that you keep in, the flash memory you have in your pocket.
Right.
And, you can have 256, gigabytes of information. If you think about that kind of information that you pay, I don't know, $20 for it and you have it in your pocket, would cost millions of dollars, and it would take 2,000 square feet of area in the mid-70s.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's just unbelievable when you think about it. But, we use it every day, and that's how technology works, it becomes widespread and nobody thinks about it.
Yeah, again, what I never could understand, and again, I read through the book and you shed some light on it. How did you even discover that, silicon, that substance, could be used to do this? And how do you figure out how to put everything on the chip? I mean, I know you spent your whole life doing it, but was that something you had in your mind, or how did you come across to say, I'm going to try and work on this?
No, silicon was already used to make integrated circuits.
Right.
But the early integrated circuits used a type of transistor that was too big, and it was very fast, but it was too big and used too much power, too much energy. So what was needed was a much smaller device fast enough, but so small and reliable in order to put many thousands of them into a chip in order to make a tiny, the smallest, a small computer. So that's what I did for the first time, show how to do it, and then of course the technology kept on getting better and better by simply reducing the dimensions. So it was a once you show the way, it is easy to follow that way until you run into new roadblocks. And so for 40 years, that technology, MOS silicon gate technology, was the working horse of the entire industry. It was adopted everywhere in the world. After probably 10 years, it took to be adopted everywhere. And it became, for the following 30 years, the technology that everybody used in the world to make all integrated circuits. I mean, it's amazing. So that technology is still used today, of course, but now there are new technologies that, because when you go down to very small sizes, now we are down to 5 nanometers. 5 nanometers is 5 billionths of a meter. I mean, it's just unimaginable. You cannot see that dimension on a microscope.
Yeah.
You need conventional microscope. You need an electron microscope, to take a look at those type of devices. But their minimum dimensions are 5 nanometers. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And Federico, as you can tell, he was born in Italy, Vicenza, Italy, I believe, is the town, and you came to America in I guess the mid 1960s, and went to Silicon Valley pretty much right away, right, Federico? To
1968.
Work.
I'm a physicist. I was educated in Italy. I also worked in semiconductor industry in Italy, so I came already prepared. That's why my first job, I could invent a new technology, which is the silicon gate. And also, when I was 19, I designed and built a small computer at Olivetti, which was a company in Italy. So I was a little bit of a early starter. And and of course, then I became an entrepreneur, as you know. I started several companies.
Right.
But the things that I care to actually talk to your listeners is really my interest in consciousness, because that's something that few people understand these days. Because most people think that computers can become conscious like us, have feelings like us, and be better than us, perhaps. And and so and to me, after having studied consciousness for about 30 years, I reached a completely different conclusion. That consciousness is something that is absolutely fundamental. In other words, consciousness comes before matter, instead of matter coming before consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Today, people think that consciousness to exist needs a brain. I say in my also in the Silicon book, and in the book that I'm writing now, which is all about consciousness, that it is the brain that makes matter. I mean, and not the brain. Sorry, consciousness that makes the brain.
Right.
In other words, we now think the opposite of what I actually think is going on, and there are very good reasons that very good explanation for why this has to be this way. So I'm I'm fascinated by the fact that if consciousness is primary, is fundamental, like I'm saying, then human beings are not machines. We are not machines. We are spiritual beings. We are people that live to learn, live to grow as human. As we can even use the word soul, but I don't like the religious connotation of it, because this is really, I'm talking about science, and I'm talking about something that exists in a reality, which is what we call today the quantum reality. That's where quantum computers would operate when we will be able to do that.
And I found that interesting too in the book, like you said, called Silicon, that you're working on, and I guess it's theoretically possible to have computers that would be reason or make up decisions without being programmed that way. Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Well, the computers will be able to do things that are mechanical. In other words, they are, like when you do a multiplication, we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you follow a procedure and you do a multiplication. It might take 5 minutes to make a long multiplication for us. The computer can do billions of them in a second. So
Right.
clearly, the speed at which a computer can operate is unbelievably faster than what we can do. But but when it comes to making decisions that are based on comprehension, based on understanding what's going on, computers are just less than a child. They don't understand anything.
No.
They can only do very fast mechanical things, and so they can make decisions if they are simple decisions based on stuff that we teach them, and they can learn with with what are called neural networks, which are structured similar, mindful of the biological neural networks that we have in our brain. They work with similar principles, not exactly like it, but similar enough that they can actually do a simple learning. But that kind of learning does not provide comprehension, does not provide feelings. We know because we feel. We have sensations. We know when we understand something, we feel, I got it. It's like you connect the dots.
Right.
You feel like, you now get a picture in your mind that you didn't have before understanding something. And so that's what consciousness does. Consciousness is what gives you the capacity to feel, the capacity to comprehend, the capacity to love, to have, to feel sensations, smell things, just the normal sensations. Those are not electrical signals. Electrical signals don't produce sensations. They produce action. They
Right.
produce other symbols, other signals, but they cannot produce sensations and feelings. So computers cannot be conscious, in according to my studies and according to all I know in some experiments.
I don't know if you ever watched the show Star Trek. You're probably too busy working when it was on, but they had an episode where the computer in that era, which was 300 years in the future, actually had its own personality and was making decisions. So it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but that's that's the sort of the kind of there is a way of thinking about the robot that has a long history, way before Star Trek. The computers will become intelligent. They could surpass us and so on. So it is fiction. But now many scientists and many engineers that work in artificial intelligence are saying that they will be able to make conscious computers. That's so one thing is to say it as science fiction, as entertainment, but another thing is to say it seriously,
Right.
because that will be a serious problem if the computer could be conscious. And and fortunately, I'm pretty clear to me, and that there is a scientific paper that just came out that also show how that could not possibly be, because consciousness is a quantum phenomenon, not a classical phenomenon like a computer. So computers, according to this theory, could not be conscious. So that's a major new development that is not described in the book, but because it was a recent paper, but it was that supports what I'm claiming in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating to think about it. And Federico, I mean, obviously, you've seen it from the beginning, 50 years or more with computers. And in your opinion, do you think we're just still at the very beginning of what this technology can do? I guess you sort of answered that already. It seems like we've gone as far as we need with computers, but we're probably right at the beginning, aren't we, of what they can do?
We're still in the beginning. In fact, what people call artificial intelligence and robotics and so on, which is based on this neural network technology that people claim they can do miraculous things, but only with regard to not the real things that make us human, but only with regard to mechanical intelligence.
Right.
In other words, these things that anybody can do, but they can do it so fast that it looks like they are much smarter than us, but that's not what they are. They cannot make good decisions. They don't have common sense. They cannot distinguish things that we distinguish because they don't have comprehension. And so they are complementary. Computers are complementary to us. And so if computer and robots, if we use them well, we will make tremendous progress, increase productivity, but then people will have to also go back to school and learn more, because many jobs can be done by robots, 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Right.
So the people that can only do a job that a robot does, better learn to do something else and use their human skills instead of doing repetitive and, boring jobs.
Right.
But, you need to live. So, so people need to be trained and need to worry about that, because otherwise the menial jobs will disappear.
I always thought, and again, just from reading your book, I can see, at least somewhat, or how this would be great for the field of medicine. I think we've already seen it with, surgery. A lot of that's being done by, computers or robots. I think this technology is even going to make that better, don't you think, in the medical field?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all that stuff already. I mean, that I've invested in a company that makes robots. That make an operation, a prostate, benign hypoplasia, it's called.
Right.
Yeah, and it does it in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Right. Less invasive.
And, you go in and
right.
you go in and out. So
yeah.
you go in and out. So you can imagine that, right? I mean, and it doesn't have any of the problems, the small percentage, but still, if you are one of those that, the 3 or 5% of people that have problems with those operations, you're not happy about it.
Right. No, I think that's a great thing right there. Just from that alone, less invasive surgery. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Well, Federico, I mean, the book is not just how you did it, but you tell some great stories, and really just kind of your own stick-to-itiveness. There were times there where you were dealing with having to get funds to kind of keep going, and the challenges of things not working as quickly as you like. So, I mean, it's a great story from that perspective. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of that out of the book. That keep going, right? I mean, don't give up.
No, I never give up.
Yeah, but I mean, you had to go through some difficult times, obviously. Then, just kind of to keep it going. You weren't quite there yet, or you need more money, or you need more help, or even some people trying to steal from you. That you got a lot of that going on back then, right?
Yeah, that's right. But it's still going on today. But the key thing is to keep your faith and to keep your enthusiasm and passion. And I frankly, now I'm giving money away because I have a foundation. I want people to study the nature of consciousness scientifically. So, I spend, I'm now writing a book for 12 hours a day, and with passion, and not to make money, because I love it. So that's really what I learned in my life in through understanding consciousness and experiencing, states of consciousness that are really dramatic, that can dramatically change you if you really want to find out. The universe responds to what you want. If you want something, just to know, not to do something with it, to make money for it, just to know. The universe responds. And I have many, spontaneous experiences of consciousness that have helped me understand what consciousness is. And so a lot of the things that I write, they come from those experiences that reveal that reality is much bigger, much vaster, much grandiose than what we think it is. We are not machines.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, definitely when that next book comes out on the consciousness, please let me know, or your people let me know. I'd love to talk to you at that time too. But in the meantime,
Perfect.
We want people to get this book, Silicon, From the Invention of the Microprocessor to the New Science of Consciousness. And Federico Faggin has been our guest tonight, and we just kind of touched on what he's been doing, but it's really interesting. You don't have to understand it all, but the microprocessor, how it works, but you're going to get a good idea of what it took to put it together in this book. And Federico, really pleasure talking to you, and thank you for taking the time. Do you have a website you want to direct people to get the book?
Yeah, still in the book.
Just Silicon the book.
one
Okay.
word.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put a
Yeah.
link as well on our website to that. But Federico, pleasure talking to you. Thanks for being with us,
Thank
and
you.
we'll talk to you soon.
Likewise. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.